At one particular time, I did talk about, I did say Terence Crawford.
Okay.
Now, but what are we rating these fighters on? What are we rating these fighters on?
Floyd Mayweather's eyeball test.
That worked.
You're eyeballing these guys. You watch Terence Crawford. You know why he has a problem getting the other welterweights in the ring with him.
Yo, yeah, so he was pound for pound. Floyd was pound for pound. You or Floyd, who would have done that? Who would have won that?
Me.
Because I think Floyd at his best was a better defensive fighter than Crawford. Crawford's a better offensive fighter, but in those kind of matchups, I think defense usually beats the offense.
Floyd Mayweather recently addressed Terence Crawford during a live appearance and made it clear he doesn't believe Crawford belongs at the very top of the pound-for-pound rankings. According to Mayweather, being mentioned in that elite category requires more than what he's seen so far. On the flip side, Stephen A. Smith strongly disagrees. He argues that Crawford is currently the most complete fighter in boxing and deserves recognition as the sport's pound-for-pound #1. Smith points to Crawford's dominance in the four-belt era, highlighting the fact that he captured all major titles to become an undisputed world champion, a feat that cements his place among the elite.
Best fighter on the planet. Pound for pound, he's that dude.
In addition to that, Oscar de la Hoya spoke highly of Floyd Mayweather, even calling him the most impressive trainer he's ever worked with. He suggested that if Mayweather were to step into the ring with Terence Crawford, Floyd would make the necessary adjustments, evolve his approach, and show a completely refreshed version of himself. Indeed, de la Hoya's point was simple. Greatness isn't just about past achievements. It's about the ability to adapt, make changes, and still perform at the highest level. In his view, that's what separates Mayweather from everyone else.
Best trainer I've ever had in my life. He would revitalize his style. He would make him a new fighter. That's how great.
Max Kellerman also weighed in on the debate. He explained that at his peak, Floyd Mayweather was on another level defensively, arguably sharper and more disciplined on that side of the game than Terence Crawford. However, when it comes to pure offensive creativity and finishing ability, Kellerman believes Crawford may have the edge. Still, he emphasized an important point about boxing history. In high-level matchups like that, elite defense often neutralizes great offense. And more times than not, the fighter who can control distance, timing, and damage tends to come out on top.
I think Floyd at his best was a better defensive fighter than Crawford. Crawford's a better offensive fighter, but in those kind of matchups, I think defense usually beats the offense.
Here's your reworded.
Undisputed, he's a 5-division champion, but never became undisputed. Never really followed that unification, stuff like that. So I think when it comes to accomplishments, I think he's already done more. In a fight, I probably still pick Mayweather. Both in the prime, I would probably pick Mayweather to win. Just like I would probably pick Pacquiao to win, both in the prime.
Ooh, to beat Crawford.
Yeah, I think so.
Prime for prime?
Know, yeah. But is Crawford one of the greatest of all time?
Robert Garcia also shared his perspective on the debate. He acknowledged that Terence Crawford achieved something special by becoming undisputed in a true prime versus prime showdown, making his accomplishment even more impressive. However, when it comes to a head-to-head fantasy matchup, Garcia admitted he would lean toward Floyd Mayweather or Manny Pacquiao at their best. Even with that opinion, he still places Crawford in the conversation among boxing's all-time elite, recognizing the level of skill and dominance he's displayed.
I mean, they're not that separated in age, right?
I think Terence is 38. I think Floyd, I am not sure, he's either 10 years older or 12 years older. I don't know if he's 48 or 50.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to get the best Floyd, so I don't think it makes sense.
Exhibition would be crazy. Actually.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Exhibition would be crazy, actually.
Yeah, I think that'll make a lot.
Garcia also gave his take on the discussion. He pointed out that with roughly a 10-year age gap between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford, a serious, high-stakes matchup wouldn't really make sense at this stage. That said, Garcia mentioned that an exhibition between the two could be entertaining and surprisingly appropriate. In his view, it would give fans a chance to see two elite skill sets share the ring without the pressure of a legacy-defining battle. And that alone would make it must-watch.
It's a little different because, Floyd is different. know, he's the best fighter. You know, I don't know about all time. He might be the best fighter all time. If not, he's close, 2-3, and not by far. So, you know, it's a little bit different things that Floyd does, and Floyd was a lot older when I sparred him. And it's just certain things that he does that, you know, that's very tricky. Like the guy we getting the clinch, he was like squeezing my nose and I couldn't breathe and stuff like that. So it's just certain things that he do in there. Just veteran stuff, just veteran all-time type stuff he was doing when I was sparring.
He also added that even though a showdown, an exhibition matchup, that would honestly be wild, the idea actually makes a lot of sense. Seeing two elite fighters share the ring in a showcase setting would create major buzz without the pressure of a legacy-defining clash. Errol Spence Jr. also weighed in on the conversation. He explained that Floyd Mayweather's ring IQ, tactical awareness, and ability to outthink opponents put him in a completely different category. According to Spence, those qualities are exactly why Mayweather is often mentioned among the greatest fighters in boxing history. As Spence hinted, small details inside the ring can make a huge difference, especially when you're talking about someone with Floyd's level of experience and precision.
Floyd would beat Crawford, I know that's just a fantasy match.
Man, I don't know.
I'm reaching, you know.
I don't get into all that. I don't know who went our sugar routes and I don't know.
But Floyd was the best sport, just like mental games, everything.
Oh yeah, mentally, by far, I feel like he's the best.
He went on to say that a fight between Terence Crawford and Floyd Mayweather,
Just hypothetically speaking, just looking at, you know, two fighters, you got Floyd and you got Crawford,
is really more of a fantasy scenario than a realistic possibility. Still, when people imagine that matchup, one factor always stands out. According to him, Mayweather's mental strength and psychological control inside the ring give him a unique advantage. The way he studies opponents, stays composed under pressure, and dictates the pace mentally is what truly separates him from the rest. In that department, he believes Floyd operates on a completely different level.
He would have bored him to sleep like he do these fighters.
Yeah.
He would have jabbed him, hooked him, stick him in the body. You know what I'm saying? And then when the fighters swing back, Floyd know where to get down. So mentally, they're draining.
Yeah.
And about the 6th or 7th round, that's when you start picking up putting the combinations.
Coach Bernie also shared his opinion on a prime versus prime clash between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford. In his view, if both fighters were at their absolute best, he would give the edge to Mayweather. Coach Bernie also shared his opinion on a prime versus prime clash between Floyd Mayweather and Terence Crawford. In his view, if both fighters were at their absolute best, he would give the edge to Mayweather. He explained that Floyd's sharp jab, accurate counter hooks, and smart body work would slowly wear Crawford down over time, combined with his disciplined defense and ability to limit damage. Bernie believes Mayweather would gradually take control and dominate the later rounds as the fight progressed. He explained that Floyd's sharp jab, accurate counter hooks, and smart body work would slowly wear Crawford down over time, combined with his disciplined defense and ability to limit damage. Bernie believes Mayweather would gradually take control and dominate the later rounds as the fight progressed.
The problem with Bud's career, right? It bloomed kind of late. I find Bud to be as defensively sound as I've ever seen a fighter. He can find you. There's nowhere to hide with him.
Like Floyd, he has such control over the turns in there. It's just insane.
MMA analyst Luke Thomas also offered his take on the discussion. He pointed out that Terence Crawford didn't receive widespread recognition until later in his career, but that timing doesn't take away from his skill level that, in Thomas's view, Crawford ranks among the most technically sound defensive fighters the sport has seen. He highlighted Crawford's ability to read movement, cut off the ring, and shut down opponents regardless of how they try to escape or adjust. According to him, that ring awareness and adaptability are what truly set Crawford apart.
Bud is extremely skilled, right? Yet not as skilled as Floyd Mayweather. Floyd Mayweather made people look foolish, right? And so if I had to say who's the greatest I've seen, and Bud said it right, the best of an era and the best of an era, it's Floyd. But when I watch Bud against Canelo, there was this extreme skill on display, and there was a level of crazy that's different. There was a level of, and Floyd's extremely tough. Go back to Shane Mosley and the 2 punches he landed early in the fight and the way that he embarrassed him. I'm not saying that Floyd's not tough, Floyd's not a bad man, but there was domination inside that ring we saw this weekend.
Ryan Clark also weighed in, praising Floyd Mayweather as the defining fighter of his era. According to Clark, Floyd consistently outclassed his opponents with flawless technique and an unshakable mental game. In the 2000s, he became the ultimate example of dominance in boxing, setting a standard few could ever match.
No fear in him in the way that he's attacked, gaining notoriety. Bud's been the baddest man for 12 years, but no one gave him credit because he didn't go tell you he was the baddest man. He didn't market that. He just went out and fought and beat people and knocked people out. So he had to move up and take the bigger fights and the better fights. And he was Errol Spence. We realized just how great he was. Canelo cemented him on what is the two-headed monster that marks the greatest of the 2000s. Floyd Mayweather is on that, and Bud Crawford is right next to him. I don't think we have to pick on who's better. I think they both dominated their eras.
Clark added that Terence Crawford has established his own legacy by convincingly defeating top-tier fighters like Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez. These victories highlight not only his skill at the highest level, but also his courage and ability to perform under pressure.
Like, if you look at Floyd's resume, it's much deeper than Crawford's. And Floyd was faster and he had a better defense and all that stuff. But Floyd picked and chose when he fought guys, especially once he left lightweight. He wiped out the junior lights, bring him lightweight. He jumps up to Jose Luis Castillo first thing. A lot of people think he lost the first fight, I didn't, but then he won the rematch. But once he left lightweight, he was careful about when he fought guys. So even though his resume is deeper with names, people remember, yeah, but he didn't want it with certain dudes at certain times. Crawford, we all witnessed, even though the resume is thin in certain ways, he wanted it with everyone.
Max Kellerman also offered his perspective, noting that while Floyd Mayweather has a more extensive career resume, Terence Crawford has demonstrated a remarkable willingness to face any challenger thrown his way. According to Kellerman, that fearless approach distinguishes Crawford as one of the most competitive fighters of his generation. Jeff Mayweather highlighted Floyd Mayweather's win over a young Canelo Alvarez as a perfect example of Floyd's boxing intelligence and ring mastery. At the same time, he pointed out that the fight also showcased the early potential and talent that Canelo brought to the ring, hinting at the star he would eventually become.
Canelo at that time was a razor-thin decision. Floyd won, majority decision. TJ Ross had it with what a lot of people had as a draw. And then the other two judges scored it for Floyd, of course. And that was a Floyd at the top of his game with a very green Canelo with very little experience. He still took him, in deep waters. So. Yeah, very, very young in the game, obviously.
Clark added that Terence Crawford has established his own legacy by convincingly defeating top-tier fighters like Errol Spence Jr. and Canelo Alvarez. These victories highlight not only his skill at the highest level, but also his courage and ability to perform under pressure. Max Kellerman also offered his perspective, noting that while Floyd Mayweather has a more extensive career resume, Terence Crawford has demonstrated a remarkable willingness to face any challenger thrown his way. According to Kellerman, that fearless approach distinguishes Crawford as one of the most competitive fighters of his generation. Jeff Mayweather highlighted Floyd Mayweather's win over a young Canelo Alvarez as a perfect example of Floyd's boxing intelligence and ring mastery. At the same time, he pointed out that the fight also showcased the early potential and talent that Canelo brought to the ring, hinting at the star he would have